tactical. If I use a certain tactic, if I use the tactic of parking the bus, you have to be able to unlock it. You have to be able to move the bus. And yes, they got it right at certain times by stretching them a bit and putting some decent crosses. I know right at the end, Mabue had a good cross. If Magalwe had a little bit more urgency and determination to want to get hold of onto the ball, he could have, something could have happened from that. Lila Kay's free kick also, if somebody had to get at the end of that, I mean, there was opportunities for them. But like we rightfully said, I think Baraka wanted it more on the day. It fell into their plan, scoring first. Sundowns has never ever won a game trailing halftime. So that in this season, so that is another thing that you have to look at. So in that sense, everything worked according to plan for Baraka. The goal came at the right time, and then obviously now Sundowns is under pressure, and Baraka parking the bus is good for them. They conceded the least amount of goals in the teams in the bottom four. So they could defend the lead if they were to get the first goal. So they are capable of that. So like I'm saying, I think it just all fell into place for Baraka.
And Dylan Kerr, I mean, came out and says he knows his job, Eddie. He knows what it takes to get a side to play. And I guess, you know, the prospect that Baroka fans and football lovers will look forward to is to see what this guy can do over the long term with a team like Baroka. And if, you know, get them to play with that winning mentality with every game, because I'm sure all coaches hate this, that sometimes their teams raise their performances depending on the opponent, as opposed to just applying themselves like that week in, week out.
Exactly, Kamo. I mean, that's what I said, that I just hope that in their remaining two games, they're going to put up this performance that they did against the Sundowns. I think if they can do that, I think there will be another team to watch. Because if you look at even the way that they play against the Sundowns, they had to drop back, and then couple of times they catch Sundowns on counterattacks, of which it worked really well. And I think if only they had to utilize those chances, I think we would be talking of, you know, maybe 2-3 goals. But yeah, I mean, we're waiting to see what he can do. I think by judging the game that he played against Sundowns, I was impressed. You know, he knew exactly what he wanted. He got the goal. He defended very well, and it was like they're playing for their lives. So I should give credit to the coach.
And now suddenly, Kelvin, I guess it's looking not as unlikely that Baroka can pick something up against SuperSport United and Kaizer Chiefs. I mean, you know, if you're those two teams looking at how they played against Sundowns, you're thinking to yourself, we might have a bit of a potential banana peel, which, you know, for SuperSport United, not in the reckoning for much of the season, but if you're Kaizer Chiefs, last day of the season, you got to play against a team that were able to get points from the team that you're fighting against for the title. You know, this is the job that Ernst Middendorp now has, is building the mentalities, making sure that the players don't let the pressure get to them. But Baroka, for all intents and purposes, are in a well-placed position to apply pressure to these last two teams for the last two rounds.
Correct. I think Baroka is doing themselves a favor by trying to get as many points as possible so that they can clear. Because them delaying or start counting, the counting is going to come to a time where it stops. And then now we're going to actually now try and compare results in terms of the goal differences and all and so forth. So within a team like Baroka, as we've seen them playing with Sundowns, I think they can take a good confidence booster for actually them trying to also disturb the league title and also make doing themselves a favor by climbing a step up and putting more pressure that are below them. With a team that has got a solid defensive line, I see them, the best result for them to go for, maybe it might be a draw, snatch a win, close shop again, and then try and build as many points as possible so that you can stay on the clean.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask Shoaib. In terms of the points that are on the table, there's 6 points for Baroka in those two games. They're sitting in 13th position, only 3 points from the team at the bottom. Do you think, based on the performance against Sundowns, Shoaib, that they can avoid being drawn into that battle over the next two games with 6 points on offer? Do you think they get, how many of those 6 do you think they can get?
Yeah, well, they've proven obviously they can beat the top teams if things go according to plan. I do, however, believe the Supersport game is going to be the hardest out of the two for them.
Right.
Supersport has been doing really well. The last 5 games, they just lost to Pirates, but before that, I mean, they've won four. They've got 13 out of the last 15 points, besides the loss against Pirates. So Supersport, you're going to have to, for me, Supersport's got the best balanced team out of the top 5, I think, when it comes to creating chances and also collectively defending well. So it's going to be very tough for them. I see Supersport winning that game. The Now it's all about fight and desire with that last game. So against Chiefs, I think Chiefs is going to go in there a lot more nervous, because if Chiefs wins on Wednesday and Sundowns win on Wednesday, then it's going to go down to the last day. So Chiefs is actually going to be a little bit more nervous. And if Baraka doesn't get any points and also everything goes their way at the bottom, they could still potentially be safe. So in that sense, I think they will go into that last game, I think, with a little bit more freedom than what Chiefs is. But I think 4 points is going to ask a lot. I think a win out of the two, most likely against Chiefs.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point that you're making there, Shway, because if you look at it, if they win this next game against Supersport United, I mean, you have to wonder about the motivation going into that last round against Kaizer Chiefs, Eddie. I mean, if they secure their status in the top flight against Supersport United, I'm sure Chiefs will be hoping that's the case, because they would look for a more relaxed Baroka coming into that final game of the season. But if Baroka lose and they're still scrapping for their lives, that's the situation that Chiefs don't want.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Shoaib that the game against Supersport is going to be very difficult for Baroka. I think Supersport has been doing very well, and all the players that are there, they've been giving everything that they need, to win games. So when they play against Supersport, I think it's going to be difficult. So, but I think let it go to the last game. I think it's going to be very interesting, and knowing that Baroka needs to win that game, and Kaizer Chiefs also needs to win the game. So I think I would want to go to the last game. I would love that.
Of course, we all want that drama, and we're hoping that it does go down to the wire with matches on Wednesday and at the weekend again to wrap up the ABSA Premiership season for the last time. We call it that, actually. Let's move on to that other game that saw Bidvest Wits. In a way, Kelvin, they've just gotten themselves back into the title race without really, wanting to be in the title or showing an intent to be. I mean, they were kind of behind Chiefs and Sundowns as part of the chasing pack, but getting that scalp against Chiefs, kind of puts them in the mix again, which makes it an even more dynamic end to the season. What do you make of that result and where they're placed right now going into the last 2 rounds?
Interesting. It's the way Vets is playing. It's a very, very, very professional setup. I must commend Kevin Hunt for actually putting up a mentality of players to say, listen, guys, let us do our dues. We understand the fact that the team has been sold already, but now this is your time. As you heard him on the post-match saying, he's just going to try and throw in some youngsters also in the mix, just to actually to market themselves so that they can get the teams. Going back to the league, for them, fighting for the league now, it gives them, this makes it very interesting, because now think about it, now Vets winning the league and then already the team is being sold. It's gonna cause a little bit of in a mix, because those other teams they have to actually to knock themselves out, because as I was checking, most of Vets games are actually not the toughest, but Chiefs and Sundowns actually have challenging games that are faced with.
No, for sure. Bidvest Wits play Polokwane City on the last day, but then come midweek, they'll be up against Black Leopards. Gavin Hunt, I guess, is a wily character, Shweb. He's been in the game a long time. He'll obviously be looking to maintain a bit of calm in the camp as to it being a title charge, but he's probably the best placed to win this league in terms of the lack of pressure, because as we've spoken about with Calvin, no one expects Wits to do anything because they're going to be no more next season. But what a twist in the tail that would be if they came out of nowhere to end up winning the absolute premiership. And what kind of an indictment would that be on Chiefs and Sundowns?
Yeah, you see, I think Sosi will agree with me is that I think for what I know of Gavin Hunt is whenever you listen to him, even the time he won the league with Wits and with Supersport, he's always blasé about it, and he's always this one has a chance or that one has a chance. So he always downplays his position, which I think has always been a good thing about him over the years, and it's a good characteristic to have. It's not to, I'm going to win this or we in with a chance. No, it's always about them. It's always about that. So even now, you were saying, yes, he's Quatayo's suspended, if I'm not mistaken, for the next game. So he says, yes, he's going to give the youngster a run.
Right.
But it also gives the confidence to the players. You know what? I have full confidence in you, even immaterial that you're a youngster. I have that confidence in you that to do well. And it doesn't put pressure on you as a player. It doesn't say, oh, Quataya is injured. We're nervous now at the back. We have to throw in. No, he brings that calmness. And I think it's one of the best characteristics for a coach to have. And I think that is always just playing the underdog figure is a good thing. And he's just saying, I don't know, whatever happens, happens. If they've got a good chance of winning it, if Chiefs and Sundowns slip up. And I'm sure he's hoping for that. But at the moment, I think it's just to bring calm in the team and bring the best out of them at the moment.
Yeah, just to paint that picture for you, currently sitting at 53 points for Kaizer Chiefs and Mamelodi Sundowns and Bidvest Wits. Eddie, was that you or was that Kelvin? I couldn't tell who was speaking there.
It was me, yeah.
Oh, go for it, Calvin. Sorry.
No, I was saying, come on, I would actually love to see Wits actually going all the way out. And for those players, because when on the last post match that I heard from Kevin, when he said it's only 7 of these players that have actually got contracts. But look at it now in a sense whereby if they win a league, how much it does to your CV, because any team that you move into, you move in high in confidence. It's not just like you just the reject. The only thing that you can actually say is that the team is just sold, but now you're a league champion. And then it's easy for you either whether a player going to move abroad or players are going to stay local. But I think this gives them a huge window and an opportunity for them to actually to be at their peak.
Okay, well, that's true. And let's see. They are the ones who are holding the interesting plot twist to this encounter. But let's focus on the team that are still at the top of the table. And that's, of course, Kaizer Chiefs. It was really kind of a smash and grab result, wasn't it, Mr. Walters? Because for all the chances, for all the opportunities that fell to Kaizer Chiefs, they just couldn't get it done on the day with the reintroduction of Samir Nukovic into the starting 11. You're thinking every time he gets the ball, he has the capacity to bring it down, hold it up, make something happen. But even that was nullified and almost sometimes by lady luck at the weekend for Kaizer Chiefs. That must have been one of those performances where confidence-wise, you're thinking to yourselves, what more did we need to do to get something out of that game?
Yeah, Kamza, I don't know if you remember last week, you were telling me I'm the controversial theory. And again, man, I look at the 89th minute and I look at the opportunity. Now, Calvin is more of an attacker than what I am, but the way I look at it. So is there a certain degree of arrogance with that one? Because if you look at a similar opportunity that Tashreeq Morris had, he gets over the ball. So if any bobble happens, a ball's going to stay down. Now, Nurkovic is coming and his open goals. Ricardo Goss has given up. And you wanting to show you want to whack it in instead of just getting over the ball and putting control, because it did make a bobble, but it would have hit your shin and gone in. Yes. When I looked at the replay. So is there a certain degree of arrogance? You're going to top goal scorer in that sense. I think the first half was quite even. The second half, Chiefs changed a little bit formation. They were overloading on the flanks, and they created some good opportunities with the low crosses. Overloading on Flanty's side. and I think they created some good chances of even on the right-hand side as well. So the change worked for Kaizer Chiefs. They created, but then again in the final third, just never took their chances and weren't composed enough.
Yeah, no, I mean, Eddie, looking at that opportunity, that was a gilt-edged chance. I mean, you have the goal at your mercy. You know, what do you think is going through his head at that moment? Is it, like Shoaib says, a matter of arrogance, or is it just the occasion weighing heavy, that expectation from the Kosi Nation that, listen, guys, you got to win this one?
I think, yeah, you know, I mean, if you look at the most reliable striker that has been scoring goals for them, and then missing that chance, you know, that was very, very easy to miss, and I mean, easy to score, and you know, very difficult to miss. And I said it before that the problem with Kaizer Chiefs is that they always wait until it's too late for them to actually start playing very well. They always wait for second half. I mean, first half, okay, it was an okay game, but second half they came guns blazing, created so many chances, and they couldn't score. You know, it's like, you know, when you've done everything else, and then now you need to put the ball at the back of the net, and it's not happening. And we can't blame Juju for that. We can't blame it. Players, they missed, and then that's it. They should have just put the ball at the back of the net. Chiefs would have won the game probably by 5 or 6 goals, but they missed chances. Vets got an opportunity, put it in, and then that's it. Game sealed, finish. Capiche. Chiefs, they were crying again.
There we go, Van Gaal getting that all-important goal. And there's been an injury update from Kaizer Chiefs, and this is going to come into your wheelhouse, Shoaib, with Daniel Akpeyi suffering a concussion on Sunday. He's been ruled out for the next 2 matches, meaning his season is pretty much over, and the medical team will continue monitoring his recovery process. Shoaib, Bruce came in, did a job, but obviously they're going to need to bring in another keeper. Is it time for Kune to dust off the gloves and come in for one last hurrah and make some critical season-saving saves to help Chiefs get that title? Is this the script that's been written? Or do you think that Bruce, being in the camp, being amongst everybody, being the second in line, deserves to see these next 2 games out? Because this is probably going to be a topic of discussion for all Kaizer Chiefs fans.
Kamza, I don't know if you know something that we don't, because according to Middendorp last week, Kuhn is out for the rest of the season, so we don't know. Do you know something we don't? No, sorry, he's not that he's out. Apparently, he's unavailable. So I don't know how his availability is now. And also maybe you should direct the question to Calvin, because they kind of best of friends at the moment. So Calvin might have better answers.
Well, there we go. You can chime in next. Calvin, we're coming, but I want to hear what Trey has to, in terms of clubs.
Yeah, I'll look on a more serious note is we need to look at the frame of mind. First of all, what's happening in the camp. Is Kune available? We have people saying he's available, fit and ready. To be honest, if he is fit and ready, hands down, we have to play Kune. I would put Kune in. I know, Babu, he's come and he's done well, Babuma. But at the end of the day, I think this is the occasions that we need experience and to a certain degree reliability of a Kune. Not only because of his playing experience, but also what he brings to the team. And that is what is most important now for them to get over the finishing line. They need that leadership to take them over that finish line if they want to win the league. When things are not going your way, you need that leadership of a captain that's going to come. And unfortunately, Bavuma doesn't have that. And Kune has all the attributes needed for what Kaizer Chiefs needs to take them over the finish line and actually win this league. So I would go, if he is available and his mindset is, and his mind is in the game and is in the zone and is part of the Kaizer Chiefs wanting this, then by all means, I would definitely go with Kune.
Calvin, your thoughts on that?
Yeah. My thoughts is, I think he's more hungrier, and I'm sure throwing him into this pool, it would actually excite him, because, I mean, nobody would want to actually give this away. There's a league, they are league contenders, and him coming into the team, I'm sure he can actually bring in a good dynamic in terms of team unity again, start wheeling the team forward, getting to the bodies, because he's he's a player person. He always encourages. You can see every time when he's training with the goalkeepers and talking to other players, building a morale. I think they miss him a lot. I must admit, and I think because of the dressing room issues, it's starting to actually to show up because there's a drift. But
What
him
issues
coming
is
back to
that?
the squad, I actually think will give a Chiefs
Sorry,
a very good
Calvin.
plus,
Sorry,
and we
Calvin.
might see them actually convincingly winning.
Sorry, Calvin, to disturb you there. What issues is happening in the changing rooms? Can you please elaborate, if you don't
Yes,
mind?
please. Is your best. Please take us into your confidence.
Yeah.
Calvin.
Yes, I can take you through yes, very true. As you can see, even within the coach himself, his demeanor, his body is down. Every time they create chances, they don't score. I think for me, it actually says to him that, listen, I've made a mistake. Now, how can I actually rectify this? Because I need my good soldiers now to be on the front line to fight for me. But how are they going to fight for me then when I'm displacing them? Their confidence is down. So this is a time where now you throw away everything that you have against players. You come together, you huddle up, and then you work for the common cause.
That's what you were discussing last night with Kune when you're having dinner, right?
No, it was 5 minutes ago.
Then he said,
Oh,
No, for the
five
he
podcast.
said
minutes
it,
ago. Okay.
what he told me before to tell Omuntu already is willing to lift the trophy again. He's been lifting them. He's been training now, and then his arms are sore. He just want to lift that one trophy and then make Amakosi proud.
But Kelvin, I mean, surely, do you think in his mind he feels that him coming in at this 11th hour, you've not been around the squad, you've not kind of gotten into that game day mood? Do you think is he saying that that's beneficial to come in out the cold at this critical juncture, or do you want people who have been part of that the squad that's been in the bubble to kind of see it through? Because you know what I mean? Because as a leader, sometimes you should be able to say, you know, this is not my fight. I would love to come in and save the day. But looking at Bruce, who's been there, who's been fit, who's been waiting for his chance, am I, as Kune, going to come in and displace him? Or am I going to let him see it through?
Out of respect, I think for Baguma at this point, it's a make or break. This could actually break him, and this could actually make him. So it's a double sword. But I think for Kune, anyone can actually come into this game. This is a lovely opportunity for him to actually to show the supporters that have been calling for him to actually to rescue the team, show his leadership qualities, and move and wheel the team into the right direction. And I think each and every player, as much as I can be mad at somebody, but once I'm given football to play, I'll always do my utmost best, because I mean, there's a league that is at stake here. It's not just you just playing there because you want to finish top 8. You've got a one hand on the trophy and then you just want to lift this trophy. So for me, coming at 11 hour, whatever hour it is, I think for a player, if he's switched on and is ready to work for the best, that actually puts food on his table and that supports him, I think I will do it any day.
Okay.
And just
Lastly, before on the Kuna thing, Kelvin, where is Kuna right now?
he could be next to Calvin.
I spoke to him. He's around.
Is he at home?
He's around. He's
Is he in a
okay. He's
hotel?
motivated.
Is he? Where is he? At home.
He's at home. He's training. Last time we did cycling together. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
just to touch on that, Kamza. Kune has come in before after a long break for Daniel. I think it was last year when he played the couple of games. So he did come in and do really well. So for Kune to come in after not playing for a few months is nothing new for him. And
yeah, but that was when things were still still normal, where you were still training with the team. Yes, you're not playing, but you got the training, the contact training. You know, you're better suited to go into a match situation. It's a bit different now, isn't it?
To a certain degree it is, but I think the occasion overpowers all of that. The occasion, and that is what drives Kune. And for me, from knowing and playing with him at times in camps, and the occasion is going to overlook all of that. So for example, you look at Andre Ardense when he played that last game for Wits, and he was 46 years old. He hasn't played for years, but the occasion. And that is what I think will also help with Kune now, and why I would choose Kune over Bavuma going into the last 2 games.
Okay, and then lastly,
I think also I mean, if you look at Vuma, the game against Vets,
Mm.
I would say, in my own opinion, I think the players did not protect him. I think
Right.
if they had scored all the chances that they've got, I think we could be talking about, listen, the boy is good, the boy is what. Now we're talking about now because Chiefs are left with 2 games. Now they need to win those 2 games. Now Kune must come in. If the Chiefs had scored those chances that they've created second half,
Right.
we would right now we would be saying Kune what? Right? Because the boy didn't do anything. In my opinion, he didn't do bad at all. I think he was okay, apart from the goal that that he conceded, of which it wasn't his fault again. But in my opinion, I will give him a 90%.
Yes,
I don't know,
but Eddie, yeah, but Eddie, nobody's saying Bavuma did anything wrong. He didn't. We're just asking about the next game. I even think and no disrespect to him, he's a brilliant goalkeeper. But I even think if he had gotten the man of the match against Wits, I will still play Kune in the next game. Because preparing for a game and just rocking or popping and coming into a game is 2 different things. And remember, there's a lot at stake. Is his experience enough to take them over the line? Because look how Ajax's youngsters has crumbled in the bubble because of that type of pressure. And that is a risk that you don't want to take. I wouldn't want to take that risk. I would go with somebody that I know has had these occasions before. That is my opinion.
Exactly. No, which is true.
Yeah.
Hence, I would say that the players did not protect him. Only if they had scored those chances, then yes, I totally understand where.
But who would you? Okay, had Chiefs won 3-0, who would you play the next game? Who would you put in the goals the next game? Had Chiefs won 3-0.
The man who helped you win the
Bavuma.
Surely.
Eddie, I'm asking you.
Eddie, before you answer, I want to just put this in perspective in terms of we always talk about development. We always talk about people being given opportunities. Here's a keeper. If in Schwab's hypothetical situation, they'd won the game, had done all it took, right? Gotten himself a clean sheet, and then he gets chucked for the next game for someone who hasn't been playing, who's not been sitting, biding his time patiently. Yes, I get it. He's a legend and a stalwart of the club. But in this current situation, I mean, with that in mind, Eddie, who do you go with?
No, 100%. I totally agree with you. I mean, look, hence I'm saying that if you saying, okay, this is a youngster that is coming from the development, like what Kamal said, he played his game and then they've won the game, and then the next game they're playing against Polokwane City or whichever team. Why now do I have to bring a person that is being at home, having dinner with Kelvin, training on his own, and then while this Boomer boy is busy training with the team, and then next game, and I'm like, boy, no, you can't play because Kune, we need to win the game because of Kune. Have confidence.
No,
guys.
Don't kill him, my guy.
Confidence with
I see
you
you've joined us on the Zoom. We really love your thoughts on this one. They're listening quietly, but I'm sure they can use the group chat just to give us their thoughts on this, because it just seems really unfair that if you're the one who's in the bubble, who's earned their place, then all of a sudden you get chucked for the guy who's been, like you say, sitting at home. Like, guys.
True.
But let us please give a man a chance. I'm looking at it right now. When you compare Akpe and Kune and you see the amount of goals, Akpe already conceded 5 goals in 8 matches, right? In 8 games. Mm-hmm. Now, if you were fair enough, you were supposed to actually to share the responsibilities within the keepers. Give this other one a chance, understandably so. Now, Bavuma's introduction now comes in because of a post injury. But now, were they looking to actually to play the guy or just to sit him on the bench for security reasons? Why don't you, if you're creating a healthy competition, there are 2 top goalkeepers. Bavuma is still a youngster, and he's still going to come up with the rank. Now he's coming at what time? He's also like it's coming at the 11th hour. But for 11th hour for him now, is he able to actually to handle the pressure that comes within that game temperament? That's all we're asking. We're not fighting that the guy should play or he should not play. Because this, as I said, this might make him and this might break him.
But when is he going to get the pressure then? if you cannot put it
No,
now, when is
What
gonna
age?
be?
Look.
When must it come?
Look. For me, at the end of the day, you're playing for the league now, so you're playing for 2 games. A concussion. I'm seeing Daniel Apai out for at least October. Is Kune going to be there next season? Is he not? Bavuma will have all the chances from right at the beginning of the season. The season is starting on the 9th of October. Apai, with the way it looked on the series of the concussion, is out for 8 weeks minimum. So Bavuma has to play next season, and that's your time to shine.
He can play now, and Kune can play next season. Shoaib,
No, but is Kune
not training.
But is Kune going to be there
in
next?
the bubble? Calvin,
Okay.
are you telling me that he's on the same training regimen that everyone in the bubble is on? Is he as fit as he is in the bubble?
No.
Yes.
No.
I'll
it's not-
put my life on that one.
It's
Guy,
not
the
the
way
same.
he's so professional.
No,
Yeah.
It's not the same. What
Yeah.
is he? Is he?
Yeah.
Does he have a, no? Does he have a?
Let
Okay,
him-
Kelvin. Does he have a goalkeeper coach at home?
No, it's
No,
not
no,
about
no,
having
no.
a goalkeeper
No,
coach.
no.
You
Listen.
can have it.
Okay.
Eddie,
Let's
let
put
me
it this way.
answer you. Let me
No,
answer you.
listen.
Okay, let me
Kelvin.
make my point. Eddie. I'm
let's-
saying to you,
Let's put it this way.
even a striker.
Let's ask Shoaib. Shoaib, if you train on your own and being trained with a goalkeeper coach, is it the same thing or it's different?
No, look here, it's completely different. But
But Eddie,
yes, no, it is different. But what I'm saying is that as a goalkeeper, you're only going to improve by playing more games. Remember, Bavuma's only got 50 minutes under his belt now, or 40 minutes. So it's not much difference. And again, I'm going to say, for me, I look at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is the league. It's not the next game. I'm almost 100% sure that Middendorp will agree with Kamza, and Middendorp will probably play Bavuma the next game, even had they won. But in my opinion, I would have gone with Kune, because for me, Kune lifts the rest of the team as well, and that is what I need. I'm not worried about. Okay, I am worried about what condition my goalkeeper's in, but I need a full 11, and Kune is going to get at least 9 out of those 10 infield players to give an extra 20%, and that's what I need to win the league at the end of the day.
At the expense of the young man's confidence in Bavuma, because he's going to be collateral damage. I mean, Shoaib, he's going to be damaged by the situation where clearly I'm not being trusted enough to do this thing. What's the point of sitting here week in, week out?
Can I come in on that one, Kamza? I will come in by saying the guy knows the type of people that he is competing with. So for him getting an opportunity and coming in, because like myself, when I got promoted at Chiefs, I was very young. So every time when I'm actually in the bench, or I'll be given that maybe 5 minutes or whatever, I used to actually to feel like, yes, if I get that 5 minutes, I was happy that I was actually in the 18. So for him, because I knew the players that were there, they were Skarangobese, they late. So now for me to say I want to break into the team, then I want to play immediately, it takes time. And look at the team's caliber, like where they are right now. The only time that is going to be fielded now is just because there was an injury. There's a forced injury that has to that took place. Now Akpe is out, then he has to come in. But for him, I don't think he's going to view it in a sense that it's going to break his confidence. Within that, I would not agree with that.
Me too.
Were you 25 when you were getting those 5 minutes? Calvin?
No, it was 1996.
I was younger than that.
Exactly. Bruce Bavuma is 25. Guys, when does he get his shot?
He's not a youngster anymore.
I hear you on the confidence and the boost that Kune gets, but at 25, if you're not going to be trusted to do your job as a goalkeeper, what age?
Yeah,
I think that's the risk as a professional player that you take by going to a bigger club. We have seen it around the world where players that are special players, they go to Barcelona, they go to Man City, they go to Madrid, and they are not played. And then at the end of the day, they have to understand the competition that is there and the team dynamics of what the coach wants to do. So if a coach plans his tactics in the manner that he wants to actually go with it, then we have to actually agree. If you're not fitting to the system, there's nothing that you can do.
Okay, this is going to be interesting. We watch to see what happens. Calvin, you might have to have dinner alone on Wednesday. I'm not sure. Who knows? But you'll let us know. let's keep it moving. And this is now us heading to the Cape, but coming back up to Joburg in that the Cape sides. I mean, the turnaround, Schwabe, that we've seen from Cape Town City. I think lots of people prior to the break were probably writing the obituary for Jan Older Rickerink because it was just not coming together. But he's now found a way to make the team tick. I mean, you look at the results, emphatic against the Golden Arrows with a 4-1 victory there. And then they beat Orlando Pirates. You know, they in the Cape Derby, yes, they lost, but to another Cape team, which further just reinforces, you know, my theory as to how strong the Cape sides have been since the resumption of football in the bubble. Does that surprise you at all? Because, you know, people were talking about them acclimatizing, being at a bit of a disadvantage because they're coastal sides, all that comes into it. But they look like they live on the Highveld the way they've been playing.
Yeah, no, look, I'm gonna be one of the first to admit. But I questioned them having a football identity. If you remember a couple of weeks ago, I think it was after the Sundowns win, and I wasn't still 100% convinced. Right. But the coach himself said after this last game, he says, I can now see, which I can also see, is the identity. And for the few weeks, we were all looking for it. Now it's looking like it's coming into place. And I can also see the Dutch philosophy coming in, the 4-3-3 formation working for him, the team understanding it. Players like Relani, obviously playing in Europe for 7 years. He's familiar with it. He's Mr. Consistent. Dasani doing well with Nodada. So it's all coming together. They've always been good players. And they had good defenders and they have good attackers, and now it's just all coming into place with good strategy, and I'm happy for that. And yeah, I think if they keep the team, they will grow from strength to strength next season.
And are you surprised in the same breath about how well Stellenbosch have done this season? Or do you think that they always stood a chance considering their coach, considering their resources, which, to be fair, I must be honest, you know, everybody makes a lot of noise about their backers and how we expected to kind of see money being thrown at it. But, you know, that's not been the case. They've worked within their means and still been able to get a good season under their belt and obviously, most importantly, stay up.
Yeah, I agree. But remember what we spoke about right at the beginning of the bubble. We said it's going to be a lot less tactical. It's going to be hard running. It's going to be fighting. That's right up Stellenbosch's alley. Right. That's right up. Compact, defend hard, fight for your life, hit on transition. That's we all knew that the last 7 games, that's exactly how the football tactics is not going to work. Again, I hate to use it, but Ajax is again going to come to mind when I'm talking about this and tactics. And playing good football, you don't need that to win things and to survive and to fight like everybody needs now in this last 7 games. Is the desire and the hunger and a compact defense like Stellenbosch and hit on transition. And Scallum, Dupree, Wasim Isaacs is coming to the fold. Ryan Moon is doing well. You know, so it's a collective, and they've truly shown what a group effort, a hard fighting unit can do. And that's if other teams can take it. Baroka did it over the weekend. They showed it also. That's all you need in this time of the season. So I'm not surprised. I did expect them also to fight and do well in the bubble.
I'm going to interrogate the Ajax thing towards the end of the show, but let's carry on with this tack, Calvin, in terms of the Cape Town sides and just how well they've been doing in the bubble. I mean, we speak about Cape Town City and Stellenbosch coming into Joburg and really making these games their own. How do they strengthen now? Because if you're Stellenbosch, you obviously next season are looking to push on from this base that you've built. And for Cape Town City, I mean, you know, how do you take this energy and this momentum and make sure that it goes into the new campaign for what is essentially like a preseason is what we're having now, seeing all these games live?
Yeah, I'm just so happy for the coach, man. He has been asking and pleading with the management for patience. And finally, he has actually cracked it. And the way he has cracked it now,
it could be one of the two. Which coach are you referring to in particular? Because that could be true for either of them.
the Cape Town City coach, he actually did a phenomenal job. I think for him, he's actually got those boys together. I don't know whatever that Shwaib maybe is going to tell us what those boys ate, whether they came with their own meals of fish or whatever it is. But out of all of them, I mean, those guys have won. Cape Town City won what? They've won 4 games.
4 games, yeah. 4.
Stellies drew, and then they won 2. I think whatever that the setup is actually in that camp, those boys are well disciplined, they are well oiled, they are fighting, and they just want to prove to people that to cement themselves in the league and put Cape Town in a good map. And I like the way now the Rulani is actually coming in, being the most guy that is actually doing the giving assist, and also looking at the Nodada also coming to play, and Tanzania gelling well also in that pack.
Okay. And then Eddie, I mean, just to give you an opportunity to kind of give your 2 cents on this Cape Town gust, or what is it usually when it comes up from the coast? It's usually cold front. It's been a hot front on there.
Gale force winds. It's gale force winds.
Gale force winds. Those ones.
I think Kamu, I think when was it? Was it last week or it was a week before that? These two, my 2 colleagues here, I think I thought the first thing that they're going to say, congratulations, you're right. The Cape Town teams, let's forget about the weather. You're right, they're here to compete, and they did exactly that. Because remember, no, let me talk. Let me finish. Remember the game against Sundowns before Sundowns. And you're saying, no, they're not going to match because the climate, and I'm like.
But that's true. That's scientific.
Eh?
That's scientific, but that's true. Now, I'm saying, but even though the teams that actually are in the...
but I said they're not going to, it's not going to be about that. It's about who wants it more. And remember, Cape Town City, when they played, I think Sundowns, played more like Sundowns. They actually a step ahead of Sundowns, hence why they came victorious. And now Cape Town City is the best team so far, playing beautiful game, scoring goals, and you actually enjoying them, playing. And then same applies with what I think Stellenbosch. They played 5 games, won 2, draw 2, lost 1, playing beautiful football again. So now it's those teams from the coast that are actually coming to show the teams from Joburg that this is how you can play the game. And I mean,
But what about Amazulu? When they are coming from the coast, they are not giving us nothing.
Are you not enjoying watching them play? No, listen, my friend. Just give credit where is due. Cape Town City right now is.
Okay, Eddie, congratulations for your predictions. You were spot on. Well done, Eddie.
You was.
Well done, Eddie. Spot on.
Mr. Shaibu, I'm waiting for my lunch. Thank you very much.
Look here, you deserve lunch and dinner.
And we can all go do it at Calvin's house and hang out with Kune. Sorry, that's the last one for today. I promise that is the last one for today. Let's talk about the relegation dogfight that we've got at the moment. Obviously, we say this every season where it's almost as if it's the same old characters in the mix at the bottom of the table. But I guess if we're honest, the teams that are sort of in the mix, I don't know if we can say that the likes of a Chipa, in the clear for sure, but Baroka, Amazulu, Black Leopards, Polokwane City. One thing that's kind of similar about these teams is the high turnover of coaching personnel, Schwabe. Could that perhaps have anything to do with where they find themselves?
Look, it definitely has to play a role. But for me, is when you're changing coaches so much, it tells you about you as the administration. Do you disagree so much with the coach that you need to change? Are the results not forthcoming? So then it's the signings that you've made with the coach at the beginning. So for me do you hit panic stages at times also? I mean, we look at Dylan Kurt for Baroka, and then he says he's angry inside. Why? And then he says, I've been doing this job for 30 years. There's clearly a message sent somewhere to somebody. So you can hear, and that I'm sure all the other coaches at the bottom are having similar indirect messages being sent to certain people. And can you get it right from the beginning? No, you can't. But my only question is that right at the beginning of the season, if I had asked, who do you think is going to be in the bottom 6? Would we be much wrong than what we are at the moment? I don't think so. But and then we need to ask ourselves now, okay, and it's every year, it's the same teams. So is it the province that they're in, or do they need to start looking at themselves now? Are we running this club properly, or are we doing things right? And I've always said this, and I've always maintained it. In sport or in corporate, if your administration is not run properly, it filters down to the players. Bottom line, filters right down to your employees. And I think now it's time that if you want to start growing, you can't be a team wanting to bounce up and down leagues. You have to then say, because you have a similar budget, if you look at your expenses compared to a Cape Town City, compared to Golden Arrows, it's similar. So why are you there? You need to ask yourself. And as much as the players need to ask, the coach needs to ask, everybody else themselves also need to look in the mirror and start asking themselves, what are we doing wrong now? How can we improve the club?
I mean, Calvin, to that point, Shoaib makes a very salient point, is that it's always kind of like, you can foresee the trouble, but, stability would go a long way to helping these clubs, especially because if you're not spending money on the biggest players, surely that money is being relocated somewhere else, reallocated somewhere else. And you would hope that as a smaller club, in inverted commas, that you're using that to just have that stability, to have a way of playing. Like we've spoken about Stellenbosch just now. It's strange that we don't see that these clubs that aren't spending on the biggest wages in the league and aren't the most extravagant of clubs aren't strengthening themselves in other areas to make sure that they're not in this kind of position every season. And that surely must come from, like Shoaib says, administration, taking the little resources and making sure that as an identity, as a philosophy, our recruitment, that is on point, even if, we're not getting the kind of results that are going to make us a top 5 team, but they're going to make us a stable team. And that's something that Stellenbosch, as an example, as a blueprint, have gotten right.
Yes, I would agree on that with Shoaib as well. I think it goes back again to the management, also the technical team, for the team as well to actually understand, do they have enough feeder to actually to help the existing players to be better? The scouting department as well. How do we actually look in terms of going into that direction? Because if you don't have a bigger budget, then at least let's have a development that's going to feed up to the first team, so that it makes things a little bit easier. But now, if you're going to be buying players that are too expensive and not delivering, then the coach is going to be forced now to actually to make other changes and not play the player, because more than often, Shoaib will tell you, once you get into a club that is at the bottom or who has a lower budget, when they sign a bigger player, it's always a question of every time you need to play because you need to prove to us why we got into that situation. So again, I will have to go back to invest more in terms of your scouting, invest more in terms of your development, so that you can actually bring up players that are going to assist. Because look at now, Leopards is struggling. They've sold players, but they can't replace them, which is now you can see there's a big void in terms of in that space.
I mean, it's an interesting one you bring up, Leopards, because I mean, Eddie, they went on a huge recruitment drive and got players that you thought were going to have them as a dead cert top 8 team. And, we're hearing stories of Mogoka Lodingele moving on next season because he's not, been able to make the impact that he wanted to make. And, in a sense, you have players looking to also play well enough to put themselves in the shop window. I mean, another player is Tusopala, who went there and didn't live up to his potential. So Black Leopards is a bit of a strange one, because you would think that they had enough in the tank to definitely not be languishing at 15th in the log.
Yeah, I think, Black Leopards, I always, I think I've said it before, I always have a problem with Black Leopards. If you want to attract good players, all the best players, so that you avoid this kind of situation, you have to spend.
But they did it. They did. They got good players. They got a Matlaba. They got a Tupala. They got
Robert Ngambi.
Gamza. Kamza.
Okay, are we talking about players that are towards retiring
Say it,
or
past it. That's what you wanted to say. I'll give it to you, Eddie. Past it. Are we talking about
Kamza. Kamza. If I may just say add something there, Kamza. If you're recruiting and you're bringing players in, are you bringing players that are actually having troubles elsewhere, then you're bringing them to the team to revive themselves? Or you're just recruiting on the basis of saying, this is where I want to see myself in the league?
exactly?
And you're talking about, and here you're talking about players who have not played for 2 years.
Who's that now?
You know?
Oh, it's Benny Lemyand. Welcome.
You're talking about players who have not played even for 2 years. And then what are you
Exactly.
expecting? And you know, this is a very interesting point you are raising, because last Thursday, we had a session with caretaker coach Mongo Zibobe, you know, and one of the questions we were dwelling on was, why has Leopards moved away from the core values of Leopards? We know Leopards for introducing the Milondo Sukubilus, the Ramudzulis. You see them coming up with young kids from Limpopo, you know, but now here was the Leopards that we don't know. We've never seen Leopards going on a drive of taking players who were not being used at their clubs like they did this past season. And it's not a coincidence that we see them in this situation. Granted, even last season, they survived relegation through Dylan Care. In the last few of the season. But the recruitment strategy that they went with this season, it's something that's not synonymous with the Leopards, and the results are there for everyone to see. Tuso Pala is not finishing the season, and
Shoaib, go for it.
Yeah, so sorry to break you there, Veli, but if we understand they've always developed good players. We know they've always developed good players, but they needed some sustainability. So maybe they thought by bringing in some, I'm just thinking, maybe they thought by bringing some experience on board to help develop, they could survive quite comfortably and also promote some good youngsters. So I'm thinking maybe that was the route that they. But I also understand.
Good point
the
there.
fact is that they haven't
good point
played in 2 years.
Yeah, good point you are raising, because that's what Monges was also saying, to say the supporters have been on their case to say, guys, season in, season out, you are fighting relegation. You know, can you do better? And this is the strategy they went with. Look, we are not saying have youngsters, but when you are recruiting experience, have the right experience. Don't just bring players who've not been playing, and also, because one of the things we were saying is that some players, they were just there for the sake of being there, you know, but not really helping the team. The moment some guys are not starting, then they start to sulk, and they're not fighting for the badge, you know. So maybe it goes back to the recruitment strategy, one of the points you were having here, but also not just the recruitment strategy. Do we have technical directors? What informs the decision? Yes. What informs the decision of bringing in talent? You know, I mean, you cannot just have a situation where the club chairman or even the CEO is bringing in a player. Technically, what informs that decision to bring in a player? You know, and so there are just a lot of things which are not right, and most of these things, they start from the issues of club licensing. Are we implementing the club licensing in the right way? Because if we're implementing the club licensing in the right way, we will not be having some of the problems we're talking about now.
That one makes me sad.
For as long as you underpay the players and wanting to sign a player for 5 years, you will never get the right player.
That's an interesting take. I've not heard that one. So what do you think that is? It's a lack of...
You want?
I don't know, Eddie. That's an interesting one. Anyone wanna... Let's unpack that one.
Look, for me is if you are given opportunity, I'm sure we can always your representation is always going to determine what your wage is. If you're signing a 5-year contract for 5,000 rand, I suggest you throw your agent with a brick, because that's his fault. On Vele's point is, it's understandable. The technical directors play big roles, but we have that across the whole country. Everybody knows, okay, we have players being signed with money being put in the back pockets. We know those things. And maybe that is a topic that we also need to touch on is, are you qualified, first of all, to do the job? I mean, you're just getting a post and you, let me see your qualifications. Have you got the qualifications? Have you gone and actually shown that you are qualified to become a technical director? How do you identify talent? How do you identify? Like, if you know, for example, you're bringing in senior players that if they're not going to be playing, they're not going to be motivating the rest of the squad. Why are you having them there? Why, if it comes now and we speak to Bobby and Bobby says, I never played Tusopala and he was sulking, and then why did you sign him in the first place? You should have known that character about it. For example, I'm just using him as an example.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, true.
Right. Well, yeah, no. Black Leopards, it was interesting because it kind of opened up the conversation. But yeah, in the mix, Baroka, Amazulu, Black Leopards, Polokwane City, a very formative next 2 match days for them as we draw, to the next piece of news. And the big news, Velile, is it true? Have Highlands Park been sold? I mean, is this just a rumor? I'm seeing stuff about Sinkimnisi wanting to fight it. What's the current state of play at the moment as far as Highlands Park and Team Sugazi are concerned?
Yeah, well, look, last week I received a message from a very impeccable source. About this. There's a rule in journalism that you don't reveal your sources.
Of course.
even in a court of law, they'll never force me to reveal the source.
What did your source tell?
But so that in fact, I don't know even why you want me maybe to read the message to you verbatim, but it's okay. It's another story for another day. But he did say that, look, watch out, watch this space. Team has got Highlands. Even though it's got to be said that it's not a new story.
Yes.
This is a story that comes from in June, when Team Sugazi couldn't get Blomford and Celtic.
Yeah.
But what my colleague Mazola this past weekend did was to break it that now it's a done deal, and from what I understand, the deal is on, and what now needs to happen is for the PSL to ratify the deal. And also I read some reports yesterday where there was also partly some confirmation from some of the sources involved. But I understand, because if you followed this story, you will see that for a very long time, one of the directors, and it's got to be said that the minority director with 20%, Sinkimnisi, has been opposed to this deal. So it simply tells you that he's not been central to it.
Yeah.
And I think people like Abou Shoaib and also Indozo Sosibo and also Indozo Dinha, who are running companies, they will tell you, because they run companies, these guys, they will tell you that when you've got a 20% and then the main shareholders have agreed on the deal, yours is just, you can go into any court of law. That is a done deal, Yeah. So that's a done deal. And look, I understand. Most people are all opposed to this sale of clubs, and yeah, it's not a good thing, especially if the players are to be left in a no man's zone, you know. But I want to ask a question. If we are saying we must stop with this sale of clubs,
Yeah.
so what must happen? The club must go bankrupt. Players must not be paid because this is a business entity at the end of the day.
For
You know?
sure. And I think that is probably, Billy, the loophole that is allowing it is the fact that, you can turn around and say, well, if the current owners don't have the financial or the commercial will to see it through, then it just makes sense that we move it on to someone who's willing to. But I mean, what's the limit? How many? We got 2 already this season. Is it okay that next season 10 clubs that have been wherever they are can move anywhere? All willy-nilly? What's the cap? What's the rule?
And you have a situation where a business person comes and says, I don't have a sponsor. It's been locked down. My businesses have not been operating. And remember, the 2 million grant they receive from the PSL. I don't even think sometimes it's enough just to pay salaries in the PSL, because also we have created this artificial market, that we have now. You have some of the clubs with sponsors paying that high, But I think the issue of discussing the pros and cons of selling clubs is another topic for another day, But from what I understand with this deal of Highlands Park, the deal is as good as done. And what will Tim do now? Apparently, the guy he had bought the status from, Lunganwana, from Western Cape. Remember the former owner of Cape Town All Stars? So apparently he's in line to buy the status back of Cape Town All Stars. So that's where the status will go back to. And he will get Highlands Park. And remember, there were already talks of the striker, the Namibian international, Peter Shalulile, possibly going to Sundowns or going to Orlando Pirates. There was also the talk of an Egyptian deal as well. Vala could also be going as well. So it's a very interesting story right now. But look, for me, from where I'm sitting, it does look like a done deal.
Yeah, hey? Only in the local league. I mean, I get it. We've spoken about it, but I think a good point to raise is, you don't see when clubs are bought in most countries that they move and are changed names, and the heritage is literally.
I think what is also important here, Kamza, is that every country has its model, right? Every country has its model, and South Africa uses this model. And if that other country's model was to be used here, it might not work here. You understand what I mean? If you go to North Africa, you have the clubs there, your Al Ali, your Zamalek. You look even in East Africa currently, your Simba, your Yanga, those are clubs which are also owned by members, the fans, right?
Yeah.
It's not the model that we have here in South Africa where a businessman buys a team. And remember that businessman, maybe he's got tenders, But 2 years or 3 years down the line, if the political climate changes, those tenders are not guaranteed. What happens to the business?
For sure. Club licensing. It still boils down to that. Quinton,
club license.
You look like you're somewhere isolated. Would you like to join us? Turn your mic on. I think I'm going to ask my producer, Spicho. We've got an actual administrator on the line. An actual administrator. I want to check if we can hear his mic.
Quinton Jeto.
Comes, how's it?
There we go. Welcome. How are you, sir?
Yeah, life in the bubble, man. Life in the bubble.
it looks comfy. It looks cushy. Is that Santon? I see high-rise buildings.
Sun Pretoria.
Oh, Santon, Sun Pretoria. The fancy life, Q. The fancy life. We're all stuck here at home. There you are in Pretoria. Q, you've
Yeah.
been listening to the conversation? I mean, is there anything that you'd like to contribute? Obviously, we're not trying to rock the boat and get you in a gotcha moment or anything like that. But I think it always helps when it's someone who's within a club who's going through what you're going through with COVID, and obviously has seen so many things over your many years of experience in the game. What are your thoughts on some of the things we've been touching on, whether it be club licensing, the sale of clubs, to the fact that, you know, we also have the grants issue, that, you know, some clubs maybe are living beyond their means in some instances. Well, which part of the conversation would you like to pick up on?
I just came in now when Veli was speaking about obviously the sale of clubs, but it's a very difficult topic, Kamza. I think Veli has highlighted very, very precisely what the situation is. Unfortunately, the model that we have, and Veli is very accurate in saying that football clubs in South Africa are privately owned. And when you have a privately owned business, as the owner of the business, you're always going to be in a position to either meet your demands in terms of salaries, in terms of running costs and stuff like that, or you're gonna, if you can't meet the demands, you don't want to find yourself in a situation where month you have players like you have former players on here like Shoaib and Calvin and that. They know they have commitments as well. So when you as a club come to a situation where you can't meet your commitments, you don't really have a choice. It's yeah, I think the sales that are going now in terms of Wits and that, it's a bit difficult because of the history. But realistically, this is not new, and it's not going to change because club owners find themselves in difficult positions and they have to relinquish their assets.
But the way it's done, Q, in terms of, I literally pick up the structure, uproot it and its heritage, and turn it into something else overnight. You know, is that part of it is a part that doesn't sit well with most people. I get it. Any rational person will listen to that and what you're saying and say, I agree. Someone doesn't have the means, they should move it on. To move it on in such a wholesale way, I don't know if that's right as part of that solution. That solution of moving it on is fine to someone else who wants to take it over, but to uproot it like that?
Yeah, you see, that's what I'm saying. The new owner comes in buying an asset and comes to, let's say for you, if you want to buy a house,
yeah,
are you not going to move your family into the house?
Of
So
course
likewise,
I'm not going to move the house to where I am, Q.
Yeah, but the problem is that
house from where it is and move it to me. That's what this buying of clubs is like here. You're right. You're well with it. If I can't maintain a house and I you know, I'm struggling to keep looking after it, I can sell it. But no one buys a house and then takes the whole thing and moves it somewhere else.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I just use a house as an asset in terms of you would want to buy your assets in where you would want to stay. Now, for argument's sake, Shoaib wants to buy a club tomorrow, and he's not going to have the club based in Polokwane, and he's based in Cape Town. His business interest will be in Cape Town. So obviously he'd want to move the club closer to where he is. So he stays in touch with the club. He stays in touch with the day-to-day running of the club. So that's the difficult part. Yes, I understand the heritage part, and it's I mean, I've got so many friends at Wits and stuff like that, but it's a difficult situation. But they sold, and next 5 days they're unemployed.
Yeah, but you see, for me, is the only concern. How's it, Quentin? I like that new hairstyle. Makes you look younger, 10 years younger. Or maybe it's just less job stress now.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
Look, yeah, I don't know if they've been talking to Quentin about me, because I am actually looking at purchasing a Gauteng Motsepe status at the moment, but we don't have to worry about them moving actually. But on that, for me is can there rather be a way of finding out the owners and what they have? Because for me is like Veli was talking about. Yes, you have 2 years tenders, and now you secured your club for 2 years. But what's going to happen after that if you're not guaranteed your tenders? So for me is you then need to have some type of sustainability, or this year is a different case, because this year we had pandemic. Everybody was affected by it, and that's understandable if you sell. But I mean, for years to come, are we not looking at changing the module? Are we not looking at it, because are we just going to continue with this? And that is my concern. And when are we actually going to build heritage? When are we going to build a Kaiser Chiefs or Orlando Pirates or Sundowns? When are we going to build more of those? And that is the concern that we should have going forward.
Yeah, that's why I said, Kamza. I said it's a tough one, eh?
No, there we go.
Very tough.
And being honest. Before we carry on with the rest of the conversation and you enjoy your evening, Quinton, how's it going in terms of preparation for the last 2 match days? Bloemfontein Celtic on the last day of the season, but this Wednesday is a bit of a big one, a cracker. I'm sure the boys in the mood is high up against a resurgent Orlando Pirates.
Yeah, it's look, to be honest, from the time we came into the bubble and prior to the bubble, the preparation has been good. But the bubble has served up different challenges. And I mean, to be fair, I think everybody's tired of seeing each other, because you're seeing them at breakfast, at training, at lunch, in the afternoon, at supper. And I think everybody's starting to get cabin fever. So from a preparation point, I think everything's gone well. Yeah, it's not a big game, because realistically, I think Pirates came off a win, and we're still struggling to get a win. So we basically the strugglers in this bubble. But I think the guys have gone out yesterday, today, and you can feel the mood is there. They want to finish on a high. They want to win both the last 2 games. But it's not easy in this bubble. Eh? It's when I get out the bubble, I'll explain the bubble to you guys. It's tough, eh?
Hectic. We look forward to it. We'll engage you once that's done ahead of the new season. Thank you so much, Q. I really appreciate your insights and your time and joining our conversation. And yeah, gents, before we go, congratulations, I guess, must be in order for Swallows. Swallows are back in the big time. After what was a bit of a capitulation from Ajax, they pretty much were in the driving seat coming into the bubble. But I guess some would argue that you can go back to them getting rid of their coach in January, and it's just kind of been a downward trend since then. Would that be a fair assessment in terms of Ajax and how they've gone? Because Trey, I did say I was going to speak to you about this component of the discussion, you being from the coast and it being a coastal team, and obviously you were looking forward to them kind of being in the big time, which they still can do in the playoffs, but for them to blow it like this.
Yeah, no, Kamza, it's a very sad. It's very sad for me in the sense of I've played with most of them last season. Last season we missed out on a goal or 2 to make playoffs. Now they missed out on a goal or 2 to win the league, and I feel for the players that I've and it was majority of them that I was with over there. So I feel for them. I don't think it was the coach that left in January that played much of a role now. I think it was the bubble. Was the desire, was the hunger, was it the right personnel that played? I've watched a few games, and I would have liked to see a lot more of Elazar Rogers, because I feel that he would have been a good driving force. I'm not sure the reason why he just came on in certain games. I would want to see a lot more of the experienced players. And again, I'm going to say I think that is what would have won them. I mean, even if you look at the game Morocco Swallows and against Ajax, it was simple. Swallows said we're here for points, and the points is how we're going to get the points is we're going to be compact in defense. We're going to work on set piece. We're going to get a set piece, and they got it from a set piece, or it's going to come from transition play. So wanting to play pretty football and putting that amount of pressure on the youngsters that was in the bubble or the youngsters that played, I think it was a little bit overwhelming for them. So it's a combination of a lot of things. But if you look at the results in the bubble, it wasn't a league winning team.
Right.
Yeah.
Kelvin,
No,
you know,
thanks. In fact, I would like to come in there because that's a very important point that Shoaib has just made. This issue of experience, and we had another press conference again on Friday with Kelvin Malin, talking exactly about this. For instance, if you go to their game against JDR, already they were without their top marksman, Abednego Mosiatlhaga, you know, and if you notice, even the single goal that they got, it's when Eliezer Rogers came on board, you know. I just want to take you back to Ajax last season. Ajax last season missed out on even making the playoffs through a similar experience of this year. They missed out by a single goal.
Yeah.
If you come now, they missed out on the straight promotion. Okay.
wouldn't be a Zoom call without one of those. It's you know, par for the course, they say. As you were.
Yeah. Did we get hacked or something?
Yeah, someone joined with nefarious intentions.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you look at it, and you know what? Just a few weeks ago, I asked this question to the CEO of Ajax, RF Statio, to say, experience cost you last season. Are you not going to have something similar again? And it's gone exactly like that with straight promotion. And now you can imagine the pressure that they're going to be under going into this. So I was also surprised when they didn't have Mosiatlhaga, they didn't start Eliezer Rogers. But I was also surprised to say this club found themselves in this situation. And again, this is the problem that they're having. And also in the goalkeeping department, I'm not sure, Shoaib, you know, I'm not sure with the Dutch guy, the situation Hengelman he's been. So because for me, experience and I felt that some games they couldn't even manage them, you know, because when you are 9 points clear, at least manage the games, you know, play for your point in this game, you know, don't go all out. But yeah, what can I say?
Yeah, but that's exactly where the experience comes in.
We speak about the experience, but we've seen big teams do that as well, Shreve. I mean, last season, that was the biggest criticism leveled against the Orlando Pirates, was that they couldn't manage games. They couldn't see them out and be able to say...
No, but even now, I mean, Orlando Pirates, and I had a conversation with Fadlu after the game, but I was busy texting him while the game was on. And first half an hour, Pirates are brilliant. They score and then their back is against the wall. But they don't want to hold on to the ball. They're still rushing. And that is what I think has made SuperSport so good in this last, their last 5 games, is the way they manage the games. And Pirates concedes to SuperSport, and yeah, but I mean, it's just, you're right by saying even with that experience, they struggle to manage games at times.
Sure, and Eddie and Calvin, I mean, on the note of experience, you look at players like Cheeseboy and Vuomere, you know, doing it. Essentially what, you know, an Ajax should have done this season by bringing in players who have been there and done that. Swallows do it, and lo and behold, when it comes to crunch time and the moment that matters, you know, those experienced hands are the ones that make all the difference in helping you get over the line. Let's start with you, Eddie.
Yeah, I think like what Shoaib has said, that, you know what, experienced players, they'll be there to, you know, to guide these youngsters. I mean, if you are leading with 9 points and then, okay, you lose your first game and now you know that it's a 6 points gap different, then you now change how you used to play now. Okay, now here we need to maintain the game. Do we need to draw or do we need to win the game? So then you can decide from there. Because if you go all out again, The first game you lost, and then the second game again, now you're losing. Now the points difference getting lower and lower. Now it's 3 points. So I would say Ajax, they've got themselves to blame, and they should have changed their approach to the games, not always playing the way that they were playing when they were losing games. So it's experienced players could have been there assisting these youngsters. I think they would have get promoted easily.
But to that point, Calvin, where you lose a game and your leader's cut, is it time to reposition and change, or do you stay true to what's kind of gotten you there? Because I mean, I'm sure that's food for thought for the coach to be like, well, slip up, but do we stick to what we've been doing, or at this 11th hour, do I try to get into my players something that maybe I haven't been planning for, as far as the training and having a plan B, C, and D, to switch things up so late in the process?
I think if I would start by saying Ajax has always been known for bring up youngsters. It has worked for them. Let us first of all give them credit from where they are within the same pack of players that they've had. So it was just that unfortunate because there's so many dynamics that actually play place into this bubble, and the bubble has been the most biggest effect on everybody, because if you look at it, everybody is complaining about the bubble, but some teams plan proper than others, and which is actually yielded them the results which were better. Now and again, if you go back to Ajax, you might say that they've blown it up, but again, we have to look at the dynamics as well. The youngsters that they have, if we bring in up experienced players within their technical team, they know maybe the blame needs to go into them in terms of selecting the type of player that will suit their style in terms of how they play, because they play fast. It's youngsters, they still have the energy. Wouldn't it be players that they will be bringing in that maybe might actually change the dynamic or the structure of the team?
Yeah, but look, at the end of the day, look, if you are Calvin Marlon and you have a 6-point lead, you have people like Roy Mahmutsa in the team. I mean, for me, honestly, I'm playing 4 at the back. I'm playing Roy as a holding midfielder, and I'm sitting with Musadi, speed. I'm sitting with Elazar that can get onto end of crosses. You have the personnel to do what is necessary to win the league. And I think the approach of playing, first of all, look at how hard the fields are. I mean, the balls are bouncing all over the show. You have players that want to be on the ball, that you don't need to be on the ball in the first division, wanting only a goal and to defend. So for me, I think the approach towards the games was completely wrong.
Okay.
But now, and the point is, Swaib, are those players actually in the right frame of mind as well? As much as we may say those are senior players, are they fitting within the structure that actually cover Marlon, the philosophy of the team? Because that might be a setback as well.
Yes, but look.
Because I think any coach at this point would have thought as they've done. We look at it in terms of Sundowns. They played Chiefs. They scored 1 goal. They defended. They used the experience. Now and again, it's that type of style that when players are when a team is well oiled. But now you bring in players at that certain time, they might be the Achilles of the team.
Look, for me, at the end of the day, I think they had enough experience in that team where even though you as a coach have a certain philosophy, you can see on the field what is expected now. And if, for example, if you know that you are at 0-0 with Swallows, and you know Swallows, for example, the only way they're going to score by you is by a transition or by set piece. Are you not going to have your best players marking those? Like, I'm just using that game for example because everybody watched that game. So you know that. And now my thing is the experience in the team. And like Veli was saying, yes, maybe the goalkeeper should definitely have come out for that ball. But also maybe the lack of communication. But for me, at the end of the day, that is what is needed. The experience over there will tell you we're defending with our lives because this is the only way they're going to score by us. And that is where the experience comes in. And that is what I mean when I'm saying the experience. Sometimes you get instructions from coaches, but you on the field can say, hey, okay, this is what we need. This is not working for us. Let's change. Isaac and Glapos at the back there, you can do that. If Roy was there, Roy can do that. At the end of the day, now it's a fight. And that is what I'm saying. And that is what would have taken him over.
Okay. No, well, thank you, gents. That's a good form of perspective that we've got there. We've got Tanaka Mundwa, who's joined us on the Zoom. He's got a question that's coming from him. I don't know if my producer can allow Tanaka to join us. Tanaka, let me know if you can hear us.
Good evening, gentlemen.
There we go. Good evening. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Firstly, I'm a massive fan of the podcast and the work you're doing as front runner. So it's a pleasure to be on with great minds such as yours. My question is I'm not even particularly sure if it's a question or more or less a statement, but I know from the Twitter reactions that Veli will have a lot to say about this particular talking point. Morocco swallows his third goal and ultimately the goal that won them the Glad Africa Championship. I don't think enough is being said about the shocking officiating for that third goal. Miles offside, it was plainly evident for everybody to see. And I suppose where I make it a question is, this is not the first time we're having this conversation where a lot is at stake for a lot of teams. Now, granted, we're talking about Ajax Cape Town, who slipped a massive points gap at the top, granted. But on the last day of the season, when Ajax are doing their best to right their wrongs on their side, to have yourself not go up, and granted for everything that they did, but to have yourself not go up on an offside goal decision like that, when all you're asking your officials to do is be professional. Yeah. What do we do? How do we, and I suppose I'm speaking to Veli again, being in the media, are we sometimes giving officials and the people who are on the other side of these egregious mistakes out because we don't say enough about it? We simply just walk away from situations like that, and it's okay, it happens, and we let it be. So I think that's where the question comes into play. But I'd also love to hear the gentleman's thoughts on that offside goal that ultimately
okay, we're gonna get their thoughts, but Tanaka, I want to ask you this before you go: is if the referees are saying we need help, we can't get all the decisions right. Our colleagues in other leagues have help, whether it be video, whether it be technology, we need help.
Yeah.
I mean, what then?
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think yesterday's decision, particularly, is a VAR discussion. I don't think any league around the world needs VAR to make that decision, and that's why for me it's shocking because
VAR would have gone back and sorted it out.
No,
right?
Certainly, but we're dealing in small margins. You're asking people. I mean, look, I've played a bit of Sunday League in my time, and Sunday League you take turns on who's going to be on the line, and that's a decision I've seen a million times. It's not particularly difficult to see that that's offside, and that's what I'm speaking to. I understand. Fair. We do need systems, and we do need the systems that they have in other countries. Whether or not that's viable here, that's another conversation. But it's a simple decision, and it's not the first time we've seen simple decisions like that go unpunished. I mean, even in the Kaizer Chiefs game, it's a clear penalty. All day it's a penalty. It's not given. And we're sat here wondering, does that require VAR to make that call? We can't trust seasoned officials to make decisions as simple, at least to me, as that. And that's where, that's my thinking.
Okay, thanks, Tanaka. To my panel, gents, the third goal from Swallows at the weekend. Much to be aggrieved about. I'm sure, obviously for the positions to make money out of those kinds of calls, it going in their way as opposed to Swallows is, we'll say there was an egregious decision, but yeah, I want to get your thoughts. The floor is yours. We'd like to go.
Yeah, no, because I want to come in here because Tanaka is making a very good point, and this is a point. Sometimes that's why I chose to put the video, because sometimes when you put the picture of it doesn't give you a clear picture of what was happening, but in the video is very clear. Okay, I'm not a refereeing expert, but especially with the first player who makes the run and is gonna shoot for the first time, that player comes from an offside position, and there's not a clear picture of a deflection before he touches the ball. So I mean, simple. And you know what? We're talking about a 1 goal advantage now, which has promoted Swallows ahead of Ajax. But wait, before maybe we discuss the third goal, what was happening with the first 2 goals? And those 2 don't involve a referee. And don't involve a referee. The kind of defending from a team which is in the playoffs, and throughout, this bio bubble have never lost a game by more than 2 goals, and they lose this one by more than 3 goals. You know, and within the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes, they make 3 subs, and they left their best defender on the bench in Yadombo. Okay, maybe they will say to you, no, we left him because we're preparing for the playoffs next week. Okay, it's fine. But look, let's go back. Let's discuss some of the goals which have been played, which have been scored in this division throughout this bio bubble, especially the games which were on TV. Cosmos gets denied a goal, an offside goal. They get denied. TV replays show it was a clear goal. Ajax, they score, well, I think against Richards Bay. And the player who scores the goal, in fact, the player who provides the assist, clear offside, goal. You know, you can count these games, same division, you know. Yesterday, I see a video that's been forwarded, another team that avoids relegation yesterday. The video is clear. The penalty, the player was not even touched, you know. So these are the same things that are happening in the same division, you know. As we are sitting here now, we cannot tell you that TS Sporting has been relegated. Why? Because there's an arbitration hearing that took place yesterday, and the outcome is not out yet. An arbitration, a case which was reported at the beginning of the season. You know, what happens? The PSL prosecutions, they didn't, I mean, the whole season, the case was not listened to. I mean, we're talking about a case, a protest which happened in September last year. You know, it's almost a year now. And that case has to be listened to on the final day. You know, and what happens? The defendants, they don't even bother to even go and attend. In fact, to go to the hearing, knowing very well that in football, the final arbiter when it comes to matters of football is the arbitration. You know what I. I know that we are talking about match officiating, and here, the FA suffer in this case.
Yes.
They are very selective on these issues, because we know that when it comes to match officiating and there are questions about refereeing, you will see once in a blue moon the review committee coming out to say, no, this has happened to this referees for this. You know, where is the consistency? Okay, the review committee sits on a Tuesday and on a Thursday when there are midweek matches, and these were the decisions which are taken. You know, why can't we have this consistency so that in the same way we say this player was given a red card, and then what happened to this referee for not making these right decisions? You know what I mean? Because these things have been consistent. Because there's a lot at stake here. There's a lot at stake here. You know, sure. A team gets relegated through a dubious goal. They've lost. I mean, there's a huge gap. Quentin is here. He can say these things. Yeah. There's a huge gap between a team that is in the Premier Division and in the First Division. You know, so accountability should be coming from all sides. You know, but also equally, as much as we're talking about match officials, we cannot turn a blind eye to some of these things which are happening, especially in these games which are not televised.
Yeah, and if it comes up,
loving it because Schwabe loves himself a good conspiracy theory. Schwabe,
no, no, I'm actually comes up. I'm not going to go with the conspiracies because there's not much conspiracy when it comes to the officiating. That I will leave for. I would like to see some repercussions and consequences on that. But for me, is the unprofessionalism of some players, and that is where I have a big problem. And I'm hoping that those games that if you see that defending, what Bailey's talking about, that first 2 goals, I'm just hoping that other clubs will see that. And those are the types of players you don't want to see in the PSL, or you don't want to see play football again, because for me, that's unprofessional. Quentin is there now, and he might not have known it, but we played Ajax Cape Town. They were playing for the league in 2011. I actually got a call, and I got offered money to throw the game. To Ajax, and Ajax should have won the league 2011, 2012 season, if I'm not mistaken. I got man of the match for that.
Last game of the season.
Yeah, last game, and I actually got man of the match that game, and I was offered a bribe to throw that game, and I got man of the match. So they might have maybe gave it to Hans Funk because he kind of threw it away for Ajax that year.
Wow, that's
Hans had a shocker. Right.
We're not really sure, because they never came right with me, so they might have, offered it to him then. But be that as it may, I believe professionalism, and that for me is, I will never have a player like that in my team. As much as you might have won now, with I don't know what you were promised, but players like that for me, I wouldn't want to see in my team ever.
How much did they offer you, Shoaib?
Yeah,
To be
I was
honest.
about to ask Kamza.
No, that was 200,000.
Now I want to know.
200,000.
Wow.
200,000. And that's a serious. I don't know who it was
Don't
from.
take Shoaib, take.
No, I'll be honest. I don't know who it was from. It was anonymous. I just got the call. I don't know who it was from, but yeah. They all by performance at the end of the day showed. Look at that 200,000. For me, it's not about that. And yeah.
You should have told Quinton that sooner, because Quinton would have just come and tried to bribe you before every game. And you would have been man of the match. It would have been beautiful.
Actually, after that game, we gave him a new contract, eh?
Oh, there we go. There we go. You missed out on 200,000, but got a whole lot more.
Yeah, but you see, that is what the players don't understand. Is they always short-sighted. They're always looking at now. But look at how you've labeled yourself now as a player. Because if I see your jersey, player X, I'm not going to take you. So your whole career now could be jeopardized just by one performance. And that's the mentality that we have.
Yeah, no, you're right. Fair enough. And it's a very good point. And wow, that's a lovely twist to the tale there. Guys, we've almost been going for like 2 hours. So I want to know from everybody, because this is the last podcast before the end of the season. Obviously, 2 more rounds to go. Who's winning the league and who's getting automatically relegated? Sweepstakes. Here we go. I see Kelvin is stretching, getting himself ready. Eddie, your unlucky contestant number 1. Who is winning the league and who's getting relegated?
I will still go with the teams that I've said before, Kamu. Sundowns will win the league. Polokwane is going to get relegated.
Okay, automatic relegation for Polokwane. The league for Mamelodi Sundowns. Okay, Kelvin, sorry, my bad.
Polokwane automatic down. Amazon playoffs, and
Chiefs to win the league. Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Chiefs winning the league.
Well done, Shoaib, son.
No, look. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Chiefs winning the league, and I'm gonna go with Black Leopards going straight down Amazulu playoffs.
Very precise. Stavich?
Well, it's interesting that Sundowns still has to play Polokwane and Black Leopards. And for that, I think Chiefs is winning the league. And
well done,
yeah. And I think Polokwane is getting relegated.
Okay, Quinton. Just kidding, you.
No, you can't do that to me.
Yeah,
not Quinton.
I tried.
You can't ask me seriously, but from the winning the league, it's obvious it's between 2 teams, and I'm going to say politically correct. I'm not going to answer that one. But
Okay.
in the relegation fight, guys, we were there. I've been there on 2 occasions. And the team that looks obvious to go down is never the team that goes down. There's some way, somehow they get a fight, they find a fight, and they come out of it. If you look at Barocca's performance yesterday, that came completely contrast to the other performances in the bubble. We here have no idea what incentives each of those 4 teams have given their players. And sometimes it just takes some small motivation, some small incentive or big incentive that gets them out of there. And can Barocca win 2 in a row? Can the motivation be there for both games? It's difficult. So what's happened now is Amazulu and Barocca's results will ignite Polokwane and Black Leopards. I think with 3 points separating 4 teams, this goes down to the last minutes like it did with us last season. I think we were relegated until Sundowns scored at Free State Stars. And the goal against Free State Stars let us survive on goal average. So I think it's going to play down to the minutes. So it's obviously between 4 teams, but I don't think that I could put my finger on one of them, mate.
Okay.
If you look at it, if you look at it, both Polokwane and Black Leopards, they both have to play Wits and Mamelodi Sundowns.
And Sundowns, yeah.
Yeah.
You're saying they wide open for Chiefs.
So it's going to be very interesting.
Hey, Eddie, come to Chiefs, bruh. You can see I'm already wearing the Chiefs colors. So come to us. The league is ours.
Last week I said one of the challenges for Sundowns, they are playing relegation threatened teams in their last 3 matches. And if you follow the history of Barocca, when Sundowns failed to win the league, I think it was in 2017, and Vets won the league, they were held to a draw. I think it was a 2-2 draw by Barocca at Lucas Moripe, And if you look at the team that has been giving Sundowns challenges in the past 2 seasons, it's been Polokwane City, So because there's a PSL status involved here, and teams, you could see the fight yesterday. Because one of the things Peter was saying yesterday to say, Sundowns, his players, he told his players, they were playing on Thursday, they were playing against a team which has scored 24 goals in set pieces. But yesterday they couldn't defend that set piece, So I think like Quentin is saying, at this stage of the season, relegation threatened teams, for me, they are one team that you must avoid at all costs.
Okay, well, there you have it. Thanks, gents, for your impressions. I'm going to be a romantic and say that Vits are going to win the league. They're going to come out the wing and grab the whole thing. But we're gonna obviously be watching with a very, very close scrutiny over the next 2 match days. It's a big blockbuster end to the ABSA Premiership season, and we couldn't have written a better script ourselves, especially coming from this weekend where both the teams with a good chance of winning the league lost their matches. Will they be able to pick themselves up and dust themselves off going into the last match days? We're about to find out. Please do join us on Wednesday. Check out our Twitter for details. We're having a bit of a watch party where most of the gents on this podcast with me are going to be joining to watch the games as they happen live, and we'll obviously be pulling in all their thoughts and their analysis as far as what's happening on the pitch is concerned. Gents, it's been a robust 2-hour marathon discussion. It's a good way. I mean, the season deserves this. So, it's been such a good one. So we're ending off on a bang. But like we say, Wednesday and Saturday, we're together to watch more football together. Thank you so much for everybody's time, for your contributions. Kelvin, Eddie, Schwab, Stavej, Q. I hope, cabin fever resets.
Our coaching for life.
Can't wait to go, man.
1 week to go, exactly. I hope it's a good one for you. Send our regards to Coach Eric and the rest of the team. And of course, Mr. Kadodia, and all the best to you. And gents, thank you so much for your time. For myself, Gamzambata, we've had Fidel in the background, busy getting everybody in and the questions and providing us a bit of a guidance as we kind of just joyride for the past hours. Until we meet again, take care.
See you guys. Cheers. Thanks.
Out.
Makosi Mulai.